Good evening, students. Today we're going to speak about a poem, Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth. But before speaking about the poem, we need to speak about the poet himself, William Wordsworth, and the Romanticism in English poetry. William Wordsworth was one of the founders of English Romantic School. He was one of the most central figures. He was the spiritual father of Romanticism. For William Wordsworth, a poet concerned with the human relationship to nature and the interior world of feelings in his writings. That means poetry is an expression of personal feelings and emotions. It is also a kind of imagination. Imagination is a main source of poetry in Romantic school. Nature in Romantic poems is a living thing, a teacher of man, and a healing power. The individual is more important than the society because you are speaking about personal experience. You have to give all your feelings and your inner thoughts. Now, the most important question about the romantic elements. What are the romantic elements or the elements of romanticism that you will find in the Solitary Reaper? Element number one, speaking about loneliness. It is mentioned in the first stanza, and we will see together what are the words that are related to loneliness. It is the most powerful element in romanticism. Element number two is sadness. This is an important theme for the Romanticism because they thought sadness helps man to think deeply, and I strongly agree with this idea. Element number three, fascination. What do you mean by fascination here? Fascination in Romanticism means that you are affected by all the things around you, especially the natural things. Element number four is your relation to nature. All the Romantic poets give a nice picture for the natural elements around them. And the last element, speaking about a personal experience. You have to speak about your own feelings, your inner thoughts, and everything about you. Now let's go to the poem and read it together. Behold her single in the field, yon solitary Highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and bends the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. All listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. Now the paraphrasing for stanza 1. In the first stanza, the poet asks his listener to stop and look at the girl who is reaping and singing by herself in the field. The poet asks the listener to stop here or gently pass so as not to disturb the smooth flow of the song. As she cuts and bends the grain, she was singing a melancholy strain, and the whole valley is full of the song. The song sounds to the poet to be a sad one. And now is my most important question for you. What are the elements of Romanticism that you can find in stanza 1? Let's find them together. The first element, which is very clear in stanza 1, was loneliness. William Wordsworth gives the clear idea about the girl's isolation by using some words such as single, solitary, by herself, and alone. The girl was alone but surrounded by nature. The act of reaping alone in the field bends the girl to the earth. She was singing alone, and the melody fills the lonely valley. She becomes almost completely merged with nature by herself. Element number 2, which is very clear here too, is sadness. As we said before, it is an important theme for Romanticism, because sadness helps man to think deeply. The girl here in the poem was presented singing a sad song. Many words are used to show her sadness, such as sad and melancholy. Now with the last part, the figures of speech. Let's find the figures of speech in stanza 1. The first figure we have here is antithesis. What do we mean by it? We have two opposite words in the same line that makes the line clear or makes the meaning of the line clear. Where can you find these words? In line number 4, an opposite between stop and pass. Figure number 2, you can find an apostrophe. What do we mean by apostrophe? It is addressing someone who is not here, giving a speech or addressing your speech to someone who is not here, absent, as if he's in front of you. Where can you find these apostrophes? In two lines. Line number 1, behold her single in the field, and line number 7, all listen for the veil profound. Here, the poet addresses his speech to someone who is not here. You can find also a metaphor. What do we mean by metaphor? A metaphor is what I can say a hidden simile. So you are comparing two things to each others, but without using as or like. You can find the metaphor in the line is overflowing with the sound. The sound here, which has no weight or shape, is described as being able to fill the valley. What other figures you can find? The last one, alliteration. What do we mean by alliteration? Yes, exactly. We have two or more words in the same line that must start with the same sound, and I repeat again, same sound, not same letter. Start with the same sound to give internal music. Where can you find this alliteration between the two words sings and string? Finishing part 1. Thank you for listening to stanza 1.